Good evening. It is now 5 p.m. and I would like to call the September 24th, 2024 Hayden City Council meeting to order. And I'll ask Abby, our clerk, if she could do roll call, please.
Council President Roeder?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember DePriest?
Yes.
And Councilmember Schaefer?
Yes.
And I would like to ask, Alan, would you give us lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda? Hearing none, I'd like to move under new business 5A and 5B to say before the visitor comment, and then we can deal with that first so we don't have people waiting too long. Are there any objections to that?
Moving 5A and 5B before visitor comment?
No, sorry, I was just meant it before 5A, but that's your decision, I guess.
I'm sorry, I'm confused. Could you?
Well, I just want to move it up in the agenda. So where's the best place to put that?
Yeah, I just thought if you wanted to put it before 5A, that way that will take probably some time.
Oh, okay, okay.
So if the members that are here, or the folks
Before
that are here
4A.
don't, want to
Okay.
listen to that, they could first.
Okay, so then I would like to move 5A and B up in front of 4A, if that's okay. Are there any objections to that? All right, so do we have any visitor comment? And if you would like to comment, you have to fill out that card. Oh, yeah, sorry. Yes, I would like to read our consent calendar. It's action item number 1. Approval of September 10th, 2024 City Council meeting minutes. 1B, approval of September 13th, 2024 City Council special meeting minutes. 1C, approval of purchase request for Crack Pro mastic machine. 1D, approval of Idaho Brewers United 2024 North Idaho Beer Fest event permit application and loudspeaker use request. 1E, approval of PZE-22-0129 Trail Creek Estates Master Development Agreement. And lastly, 1F, approval of bills for payment. Do I have a motion on the consent calendar?
I would move to approve the consent calendar as read, as listed. I'll second it.
We have,
I have a comment to make. Can I ask a question?
sure.
Okay.
Yeah, this is room for if you have a question.
Okay. On the, on the September 10th minutes, I have a question on item 4, new business. I'll let you get to it, Abby. It's, after the roll call vote, it says the motion was approved by unanimous vote in favor, but it was 3 yeses and 1 no.
We can change that.
Okay, thank you.
A majority vote.
Yes.
So that's duly noted. Thank you, Sandra. Any other discussion about the consent calendar?
Well, I thought we were going to do this after the roll call, but I'll just want to mention for public consumption that part of the consent calendar is the purchase of a piece of capital equipment that's quite expensive, but experience has shown that it should save us money in the long run because it will do road repairs to the roads and avoid maintenance down, later on. But that capital expense is about $81,000. Correct?
Correct, and the budget anticipated 125, so we're actually doing quite well in that regard. And this will come out of next year's budget, but we're asking for approval to move forward with that order, so.
And this is a sealer, correct, that does road sealing? And-
Right, well,
It
It does
does
more than that.
road patching,
Okay,
so it will do, like, if you have, it's a pretty strong product, so it's kind of a nice product. It will crack, it'll seal cracks as well, but it will actually seal like a alligator area and seal it up completely, so.
so it saves maintenance on our roads because otherwise
Saves the
they'll
life
freeze
of our
and
roads,
fall
yes.
and break up. Good, okay. All right. So are there any other questions about the consent calendar or discussion? I'd like to have roll call on that, please.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Council President Roder?
Yes.
Councilmember Schaefer?
Yes.
Councilmember DePriest?
Yes.
Motion passes. Okay, so again, I'll ask, do we have any visitor or public comment? Anybody filled out a card or gonna be quiet? That's okay. I'm just glad you're here. Thank you for being here, by the way. All right, how about commission reports? Malia Sampsell, you're the chairman of it, is that correct?
That's true.
Are you a forestry major or? No?
We need a forester owners commission, so nominations welcome. No, my name is Malia. I'm the chair of the Parks Rec Community Forestry Commission. So here to give a quarterly report of what we've been up to. First of all, right now we're a 4-member board. We could use additional members, as can many of our citizen commissions. So additional members, please. Please. So what we've been up to in the last few months, one, we've been supporting the events on the parades. So we do that judging, also supporting the procedures, the staging. That's been my currently nominated job.
and she's really good at it.
I help stage all of the parades, and our fellow commission members do a lot of the judging. And those have been really, really great. The parades have gone really well. So dog park, that was on our agenda. We developed the dog park maybe 3-4 years ago. I've been doing this since 2014. So it's, yeah, 3 or 4, we installed the dog park. We've been consistently trying to it's at Crawford, the dog park at Crawford. We've gotten, I would say it's well supplied as far as features. Our latest thing that we're working on is increasing the amount of shade potential there. So we are gonna be looking at donations of trees and things.
Where's the dog park at?
Crawford Park on Lancaster.
Oh, okay.
It's been really surprisingly well used. If you go by there at any time of day or night, there are dogs in the dog park. And they're people too. Stoddard Barn is an ongoing project where we are gonna be partnering with the Historical Commission to work on restoration, and those projects are already underway, restoring the silo and the barn, and then repurposing that for an event space for our city. That's gonna be an ongoing project that we will be involved in, let's say. Pickleball courts. Last time I presented, this is the same report as the last time I presented here. We, as the city of Hayden, do not have any public pickleball courts. We are also home to the #1 commercial pickleball supplier in the nation, Selkirk. They are the top manufacturer for pickleball equipment, rackets, and they are housed in our city of Hayden, a city that does not have pickleball courts. So we're working on that.
We actually have two out here with that, what do you call them? Kid. Nets.
Yeah, so we have portable options, and there are a few places where our city still hosts pickleball instruction. And people bring their own nets. Pickleball is active regardless of our city's lack of facilities.
Just
Pickleball
made that
is
a dual use,
hugely
basketball court, pickleball
active.
courts.
Yeah, so right out here, you can bring your portable pickleball nets and play on the
Basketball court.
basketball courts. So we're working on trying to install pickleball courts, and we have a lot of opportunity right now with all of the development communities that are happening in our area, whether it's a neighborhood or a community park that's being developed, in these many developments that are underway. And we are also hoping to install some at Stoddard Park. So that's gonna take a lot of planning and fundraising, and that's something that our board is really, our commission is really dedicated to make happen. It's a big thing. All of our, from ages 6 to 96, it's a recreational activity that is consistently seen on our community surveys as a need. So we're gonna continue to figure that out. Disc golf baskets. So a few years ago, we installed a junior disc golf course at Broadmoor Park. It's a neighborhood park. It's enclosed, it's surrounded by a neighborhood, well-lit, ring door cameras everywhere. And it's a 5-hole specifically for juniors. It's a small, specifically for juniors disc golf. We had one of them vandalized and stolen. We raised the funds to replace that because each hole was funded by an advertiser for a period of years. So you can't go back to an advertiser and ask them to refund it. Our board or commission found the funds, got that basket replaced. We have also, part of the reason that it was stolen is you have a base installed in a concrete. Yeah, there you go. And then you lock in the basket, and so you set the basket in, and they're huge. I had one in my van. They're huge. You set it in there, and then it's padlocked. And the padlocks that are standard are very vulnerable. So we've just recently approved the money and it's not much money, to upgrade all those locks to tamper resistant, like the kinds you see on storage units that are way less susceptible to theft and vandalism. So that's been pushed through. We funded it out of our budget, and that's in the process of being installed. So the pickleball, or the disc golf baskets that were vandalized, they've been restored. We are back to 5, and we've taken steps to reduce future vandalism. So that's what we've been up to. We're gonna carry on. We have another parade coming, which I'm happy to boss people around in the staging.
Which is?
Christmas. Hayden Lights.
Hayden Lights.
Bing cameras all around or something? Did they find out who vandalized
No.
them?
We don't have cameras.
Oh, okay, I thought you mentioned that there was.
No, that's something that,
Misunderstood.
no, that's something that we well,
Could we,
there have been, because of how well lit that area is, we thought it was very secure. And the amount of doorbell ring cameras, like, it's literally surrounded by a very well lit neighborhood.
Okay.
And even with that, they were still willing to go out there and vandalize city property and steal it, which isn't a new problem for our city. But no, none of there was nothing that came from potential camera activity at that site.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank everybody on the board for their time. I know that these commissions and boards, they're volunteer and they take time away from your work or family, or if you're retired, just from other things you do. So appreciate all the time you put in and your board. And would you pass that on from the council, please?
I will for sure. And or commission members needed, so pass that on. Please.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Council President Roder,
Yes, sir.
I have a question, if I can. Am I mistaken, or I thought we had a pickleball court or something going in over there behind Stoddard Park back there? Wasn't there something going on regarding?
That started on the north end.
Yeah,
We put in a grant for one, but we didn't get it.
oh, okay,
So that's probably what you're thinking of.
okay, yeah, it is. Thank you.
All right, so we've moved 5A and B up in front of 4A. So we're going to take up the action of a nomination of an individual to the Historic Preservation Commission. And, this is a nomination of the mayor. And we've seen this individual here quite a bit, so he's active. We like that. We like active citizens because they care that they're going to put their time in it. So I don't know that we have any discussion with him. I think we just bring forward the name and then we have a motion and vote on it, and if there's discussion. So I would entertain a motion for the nomination of Mr. Bill Breezy, who is a resident here in Hayden. And so that, I'd be looking for someone to make that motion.
Yes. I'd like to make that motion to nominate Bill Breezy
I'll
to
second
the
it.
Historic Commission.
I'll second it.
And by the way, the term of appointment goes from September 24, 2024, today, until December 31st, 2026. So it's a good commitment. We got you for a while. Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember DePriest?
Yep.
Council President Roder?
Yes.
Councilmember Schaefer?
Yes.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Motion passes. Okay, we have another nomination of two individuals for the Development Impact Fee Advisory Committee. And this is a really important committee because they determine, or they recommend to us what the development impact fee should be paid by the builders and developers. And so we've got two names here. The two names that have been nominated is Mr. Christopher Morris. Term goes from September 25th, 2024 to December 31st, 2026. And Ryan Nip, same term. And so I would entertain a motion for approval of these two nominees.
I just want to mention it's not the same term. It's 1 year different.
Oh, yeah, excuse me, good catch. So, yeah, Ryan Nip's term is from September 25th, 2024 to December 31st, 2027. Thank you.
Councilman Roder, is there a chance for discussion on this, or are we just going right to roll call?
No, you can,
Okay.
yeah.
So first of all, I really appreciated that the mayor gave us a heads up on this and allowed us time to do our research, because I learned a lot out of being able to do this. And both of these individuals are connected with the development community. But it turns out that according to Idaho code, there are very specific requirements that require, and I can read from the code, but require people with a certain specific skill sets to be on this advisory committee. So it turns out that this is appropriate. And I found out something else, and Donna, I was going to ask if you would elaborate on this. I guess we've been short manpower on this particular committee, and because of that, apparently the city has left money on the table as far as collecting on impact fees. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
So about a year ago, plus or minus, the impact fee committee. We had an impact fee committee that had enough members. And they brought forward a recommendation to city council. City council sent that, they didn't approve of their recommendation and sent it back to the committee. In July of last year, I think it was July of last year, the state code changed and it required that you be a resident of the city of Hayden in order to sit on the impact fee committee. And so the impact fee committee members, as their terms expired, which they did, two or three of them expired, couldn't be reappointed because the then members, although they had expertise and were instrumental in the committee at that point in time, weren't residents of the city of Hayden. And so that left us short. And so we've been out trying to fill those positions. And so these two folks have graciously offered to volunteer to help bring that up to speed so we can have an impact fee committee and potentially bring another recommendation forward to city council to see if we can get our impact fee raised, potentially.
And I think it's important also to add for clarification that this is a committee that's required by Idaho code. So you have committees and commissions that are designed by council and are part of your own city code, but this is required by Idaho code, and so is the functionality of the committee. So it's really important to have it filled and have it functioning.
Any other comments, discussion? And I'm going to assume this because they have to be citizens of Hayden, and they are, so we're clear on that. Just want to fulfill the law, so. Okay, so yes, Ed?
Yeah, I would move to approve the nomination of the two individuals to serve on the Development Impact Fee Advisory Committee.
I'll second it. Roll call?
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Councilmember Schaefer?
Yes.
Council President Roder?
Yes.
Councilmember DePriest?
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Breezy. Appreciate that.
Speech.
All right, we're going to take up unfinished business, which is 4A now. So who is going to present for this resolution?
So we have Olivia Metz, who's here, and then our civil counsel that has been retained to help us through this process, Megan Conrad. So Megan can answer any questions that council may have regarding the process or where we're at in this process and what's before you. And Olivia will present to you the report that she prepared on our behalf. So with that, Megan, we're gonna put up the documents.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
We can. I'm assuming I'm.
All right. If it's okay with you, could I just kick it off with a little framework discussion? Does that work?
That'd be great.
Okay. Thank you so much. My name is Megan Conrad. I'm an attorney at Elam & Burke in Boise, Idaho. For the record, that's 251 East Front Street, Suite 300, Boise, Idaho. Just a little bit of background on urban renewal, as I know it's been a little bit of time since this body has considered a plan or a plan amendment, and hopefully we'll set the stage for Olivia's presentation on her report. Please feel free to stop me at any time and ask any questions as they come up. Urban renewal agencies are governed by two statutory chapters in Idaho Code. Chapter 20, Title 50 is the Urban Renewal Law, and then Chapter 29, Title 50 is the Local Economic Development Act. And so just for definitional terms, the Local Economic Development Act is what gives the authority to an agency to generate revenue allocation proceeds, which in all other states is referred to tax increment, but we refer to it here as revenue allocation funds or revenue allocation proceeds. Those two chapters, as we work through this process, really have to be read together to make sure that we're crossing T's and dotting I's under each of those chapters. When we talk about a plan amendment approval process, there's two types of plan amendments. One is where we actually de-annex area from an existing revenue allocation area, or you can amend a plan to add area to an existing revenue allocation area. And there are limitations in Idaho code, which Olivia is going to specifically touch on, as to how much land and value you can bring into an existing district. But an urban renewal plan that seeks to add area requires a plan amendment, and the plan amendment has to go through the same process as a typical new urban renewal plan. So where we're at in this process, we're at the very beginning. In a plan or plan amendment approval process, I'd like to divide it into two stages. The first stage is the eligibility phase. Do these parcels meet, or does this area meet the eligibility requirements outlined in code to be included in an urban renewal project? And then the second half of that is, if deemed eligible, then we work towards the plan amendment. So when we talk about eligibility, that does encompass the preparation of the eligibility study, which requires a review of the geographic area and whether or not certain conditions of code are met in the area. Then that study is presented to the agency body, and the agency, in their consideration, may accept the report by resolution. If they do so, it moves to this body for your consideration by resolution as to whether or not the conditions are present that warrant moving forward to the plan amendment approval process. So when to the extent this moves forward, the next steps are the preparation of the plan amendment, which would address specific revisions to your existing urban renewal plan. And within that would revise and identify the scope of projects to be funded with revenue allocation funds. There would have to be a surveyed map and legal of the area that would come into the district. And then under your existing urban renewal plan, there is an economic feasibility study which reviews the revenue projections over the life of the district and identifies projects and how those funds will be used over the remaining period. So there will be a supplement to that which will outline additional projects to be undertaken, and will update those revenue projections through the life of the district. The addition of properties into an existing revenue allocation area does not extend the duration of the plan. It will have the same termination date as currently exists under your existing plan. So once that plan amendment narrative and all of the attachments are prepared, it's then reviewed by the agency and would be subject to their consideration by resolution. And if moved forward, there's a 30-day notice of public hearing that's published in the paper. And then the plan amendment document, the notice of public hearing, and the agency resolution are all transmitted to the affected taxing districts, which are all of the taxing districts that overlay the proposed amendment area. And then there would be a meeting before the Planning and Zoning Commission to determine that the plan amendment is in conformity with the city's comprehensive plan. Then the city council public hearing would occur following along the ordinance readings. And if adopted, there's a number of post-ordinance adoption provisions, publication of the ordinance summary, recordation of the ordinance, and then post-adoption transmittal to the overlapping taxing districts, the state tax commission, and county officials. So I just lay that out to highlight that we're really at the beginning of this process. We're really only looking at the eligibility of the properties to be included within the boundaries and whether we move forward with the plan amendment. The Idaho Code provisions are unfortunate in that they use these terms deteriorated and deteriorating area. We do bemoan the fact that those are the how they're labeled in terms of how we review property to determine eligibility to be included in an area. But underneath those statutory definitions that can be found in 50-2018 as well as 50-2903, it outlines a number of conditions related to an area that may be found that really I would not fall into the definition of deteriorating. But really are there to identify almost the impediments to development or to address deficiencies in public infrastructure in order to assist the area we're looking at. So with that, I'm happy to stand for any questions, or we can turn to Olivia to just jump right into the project, the study.
Any questions for Megan? And do I have to state my name and address? Okay.
Thank you.
So Megan's great at explaining all of the legal jargon, because I definitely cannot. So like Megan said, Idaho statute does unfortunately use the word deteriorated and deteriorating. But as you can see under the definition of each of them, a lot of it is pertaining to faulty street layout. It can pertain to diversity of ownership, defective of unusual conditions of title. So there's a variety of things that can be stated as deteriorated or deteriorating. And it has to meet one of those 9 criteria. And so with that being said, I'm going to pull up the map of the area that we are discussing. I don't know if I could.
And for the record, this map was a map that was revised after the HURA board met, because the previous one was the former map that wasn't accurate as to what council had approved. So the map that she's showing you will show those areas as approved by council. So you'll see a significant deduction.
Yeah,
from the
and what
previous.
Lisa's referring to are these parcels here. It only includes these 2, was it? I think it's 2, or I'm sorry, these 2, right here. And before it extended out, so it's only those 2 parcels now.
So if we look on page 3 of the report, you will see the map that we're talking about where it's identified as 1E. And what's happened is that 1E does not include that 10 acres and some of those other parcels along, that would be miles.
That's correct.
So that's, we want to note that. That was noted when the HURA board approved this report, accepted this report. And what backs that up is on page 4 of the same report, you'll see that the area identified as 1E has acreage of 1.59. And we know that that big parcel shown on the map there is 10. So that's correct as far as the acreage in the report. It's just that be clear this, because that was a concern about that 10 acres.
And to be even further clear, thank you for that clarification, is that all of the numbers only include that 1.59. So, but you can see here's the 1E in the revised figure, and then this was the old one. So all of the analysis was done on that revised figure. And so Idaho statute requires a 10% rule. So in expanding revenue allocation area, it has to be 10, overall a district cannot be over 10% of the total tax base, tax rolls of a city. And with the expanded area, we fall at 9.9%. And so, which actually when the district is set to expire and sunset, there's some opportunity for possibly a new district or the like. So, and you'll have a whole new 10% to work with. Any questions on that so far? No? Okay. And in you have this document, but it does have the breakdown of which parcels, the tax base of those parcels, and the acreage. And then we did go over the definitions by Idaho statute. And so we decided to break the analysis down by nodes. In general, normally we look at a whole district as a whole, but we thought it was more advantageous from an audience perspective, as well as a reviewer or just fiduciary responsibility, to be able to look at it by node. And so we did analyze each node, because technically the whole allocation area that is being addressed could be just one of the 9 criteria, and the fact that each of these nodes meet at least 1, if not 3, of the criteria throughout the whole thing. So I'm just going to focus on and point out the most objective criteria, keeping in mind that only 1 of the 9 criteria need to be met. But the biggest of, I would say that the largest thing that stood out for each of the nodes was the predominance of defective or inadequate street layout. And I say this because each of these nodes had an inadequate street layout, whether it be for safety concerns from Government Way and so they had, the city of Hayden had done a great job in really kind of laying the land of why to include these. And the reasons why is because of more of how can you make Government Way more efficient. And it really does stand out in the Transportation Strategic Plan, the Government Way Corridor Plan, and the sewer plan as well. So there's a lot of analysis that has gone in through all of this. And with that being said, the Honeysuckle Node 1A, the main reason for that, it's a level of service E, which is the worst level of service. There's A, B, C, D, E. And so that was identified in the 2040 Transportation Strategic Plan. Donna, is there an F? Oh, okay. I'm pretty sure it goes down to E. I'm not an engineer, but I'm pretty sure it goes down to E. And so Honeysuckle, as well as Orchard Avenue, they did an analysis of a crash analysis, and it was actually really fascinating to read through. But the Orchard Avenue and Honeysuckle had the highest incidence, and so again, another reason that it met the criteria. And then Miles Avenue also had resulted in the upgrades of Government Way were identified from Miles to I think Lacey. And because of the upgrade needed for each of those intersections is the reason why it was part of the inadequate street layout. And then for Lacey Avenue, the inadequate street layout was identified also in this Transportation Strategic Plan. Wyoming had a level of service E as well. And so those are the main reasons why all of these nodes met the main criteria. I'm just going to skip to the conclusions. So as you can see here I list out the criteria. These are the 9 criteria that need to be met, or you have to meet one of these 9 criteria in order to meet Idaho statute. And as you can see, if not one or all of the nodes meet at least one of the criteria. So given that said, and another criteria being met is economic underutilization. So because of the inadequate street layout resulting in mainly traffic issues, that really does hinder some businesses along Government Way, especially when turning. I mean, even here coming out of City Hall, when you have to turn left heading north, it's kind of a nightmare. or turning left out of City Hall. So, so those are some of the reasons why, those were, I would say, the most objective reasons, as well as one of the other criteria is deteriorating, or no, not deteriorating structure. It basically, I did the analysis, if the land value exceeded the structure value, the improvement value, then it also met the criteria. So again, keeping it objective, making sure that we're not just looking at it from a subjective perspective. So with that being said, that's pretty much the conclusions of the report. I went really high level. You can see the details in the report, but I'm happy to answer any questions, or Megan? No. Can we, no. we can't. Sorry, I guess we can't.
Does anybody have any questions?
I have some comments about the report in general.
Absolutely.
And forgive me, I'm going to soapbox a little bit. I prepared kind of a statement because I want everybody here to understand my perspective.
Absolutely.
But it will end in some specific questions if
Perfect.
So
Happy
bear
to
with
address
me.
them.
So a recent citizen survey revealed that traffic congestion is definitely a primary concern for the city. We all know it can be a challenge to drive on Government Way at times. And in seeking a solution, the council is compelled to look to HURA for financial assistance in order to become shovel-ready. Having made those observations, I'm concerned about the tone and the verbiage in this report. I will explain why. And I want to posit some observations from my colleagues up here on the dais to consider, which I hope will be the seed for some debate and deliberations. I want to start out by declaring that my personal most fundamental desire is to recognize and respect the private property rights and personal agency of the Hayden citizens, which includes the businesses that operate within the city limits. Whether they have too many weeds on their property or a parcel they own is quote unquote underutilized, it's not really our purview to pass judgment on that kind of a stewardship. So digging into this report, I want to highlight some of its shortcomings as I see them. I'm going to use Node B as an illustration. And let my example generally apply to the entire report. The report says the southernmost parcel in Node 1B is underutilized, with the land value exceeding the improvement value and indicating that the site is deteriorated. Now, I appreciate that you made that comment about the verbiage deteriorated, and I wrote this before you did that, so allow me to continue. I observed that this particular business, which is, I think it's Mutual Materials, and the nature of their operation would erroneously qualify as underutilized because most of their lot is filled with the materials that they sell for commercial and private construction. I noted in the report a picture that I found misleading regarding that node because it showed a picture for Mutual Materials of a fence with, and I could see Campfield Butte in the background, as if the person who took that picture was completely ignoring that right behind them would have been rows and rows and rows of material that that company sells. So I thought that was misleading personally.
Yeah.
An added example is the parcel to the west, which is Haas Manufacturing. I looked on Google Maps and they appear to have plenty of setback from Orchard and they appear to be a healthy business. Mm-hmm. But the eligibility report gives them all sorts of failing grades and I'm just wondering if that's legitimate. I agree that doing everything we can to relieve current and future congestion on Government Way is important. It will also go a long way towards encouraging growth in Hayden's commercial district. We need traffic circles, we need turn lanes, we even need road widening where appropriate. And this will certainly require the city purchasing right away from private property owners. My question and challenge to the council is, are we comfortable with the language of this report, which erroneously portrays the physical and economic condition of the real estate which HURA will absorb into its district? I posit the question, what if the tax increment doesn't live up to expectations? Who, either on the HERA board or here in council, will want to exercise some kind of authority if that property conflicts with the current owners? How much power and authority do these entities, HERA and the council, have over these issues? And, you know, will this possibly lead to the unwelcome specter of eminent domain? So I throw out some kind of heated topics for discussion, and I
think those are very fair. No, I appreciate your comments. And we want to address all concerns because that's really important to have that open dialogue because we're not here to just shove something down your throat. We want you to approve it because you want to. So I agree the word of deteriorating. It's horrible. It's a horrible word that I feel like legislation should really change. Orchard was really because of the lack of sidewalks, and that was the main concern over there. As far as eminent domain, Megan, am I wrong in thinking that urban renewal they no longer have that eminent domain?
at least if this expansion is allowed, then the new state statutes apply on that kind of stuff, because I remember in an old document I read, well, I think it was like the charter document for the Hayden Urban Renewal Agency, the words eminent domain do exist in that document.
Oh, so you're saying because it's of,
And the city has already demonstrated,
Just be careful that we're not intertwining the two. The city
Got
and
it.
HERA are
And
two different agencies.
and I understand, and I acknowledge that, and I've been corrected on that, but, you know, I just want to get all this out for
Sure.
discussion.
And I think for the purpose of discussion, I just want to make sure that when we're talking about what the HERA agency can do statutorily under Idaho law is the guiding principle, regardless of what the former plan or current plan
The old
says.
plan.
What the, it's
Yeah,
kind
so
of
let's have
the
that
existing-
discussion.
So I'm sure,
everybody's clear.
Megan can fill us in on that.
Megan, can you clarify for us?
Yes, thank you. So the agency really only has advisory authority on eminent domain. The use of the power of eminent domain does rest with the city council.
Okay.
And certainly the statutory changes supersede the plan in that area. So to the extent, you know, the older version or the older version of the existing plan contains language concerning eminent domain. I mean, that statutory provision has since changed. So it's the statute that would govern even the existing plan.
And Lisa, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the purpose of those properties are not to do anything with those properties. It's more for upgrading.
Yeah, I think it's
government.
key to understand, you know, when you think about the intention of the legislature for developing the urban renewal law, even as it exists today, was to provide an opportunity for the adjacent or the local government to develop opportunities to improve public infrastructure related to the potential redevelopment or improvement of private property adjacent to that. But in no way does the current law or the former plan allow for the city to acquire private property for public gain without a commensurate involvement of the private landowner in that. And so in order to do certain infrastructure improvements, even to the benefit of the adjacent private property owners, if it were intermittently on private land before it became public, for example, if there was an agreement to dedicate right-of-way, for example, that there would be a master owner participation agreement with that particular property owner where they are very much involved in the creation and the development of that. And so, you know, this inaction of developing the modification to the plan certainly won't look to do any of that either. So, and Megan, you can correct me if I'm wrong in any of those statements.
No, that's good. It's the intention of the revenue allocation proceeds to be used within the boundaries of the revenue allocation area. And so in looking at potential future projects and connectivity, these are somewhat gaps in the existing plan area for potential use of funds in the future. So
And I think that
that addressed, somewhat the selection.
And I think it's good to clarify too, because this is the first step in the process. During the economic feasibility portion of the process, we will be identifying specific projects. And those projects will be, so you will have to approve that. And then you can kind of see the bigger picture of what is going to happen in the expanded area. And that way, it really does paint a better picture of, because whatever project is not specific in the plan, then and Megan, you could elaborate on that as far as the statute, and if the projects are not included in the plan, then give me the legal jargon.
Yeah, certainly. So there have, as you know, been several statutory changes to the urban renewal law, and one of them was adding a specificity requirement to the elements of a plan, which would apply to the plan amendment. When we talk about revenue generation within an urban renewal district, I know there was some expressed concerns about the additional area not generating enough revenue for the project. So the funds from the existing district would also be used in conjunction with any revenue off of the added parcels to support the public infrastructure improvements that would be identified as part of that supplemental economic feasibility study. So I don't want to get the cart too far ahead of the horse, because really the planning part of this kicks off following consideration and determination of the area being eligible for inclusion. But just wanted to show the sort of the broader goals as we consider as we work our way through the process. So I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, that is. Thank you. Thank you for that clarification.
Yes.
Could we go back to the slide on page 15 that shows the chart? Yes, that one. So, so Megan was talking about cart before the horse, but I'm thinking in the other direction, that this is putting the cart before the horse. Because I'm agreeing with what Councilmember Schaefer is saying, and I have the same reservations. And I think that going forward and declaring properties in Hayden as deteriorated before we know exactly what we're going to do with each property. So like the one that says defective or inadequate street layout, all of them fit that. Is urban renewal promising to fix all 5 of those at 100% of the cost?
Well, I guess maybe you ought to ask urban renewal that question, because that really isn't a question for, she's been hired to do something with, to see if we have eligible
Well, then I
properties.
can answer that question, because we've been told by the Director of Urban Renewal that it's not in their purview to make promises or to give an assurance of those kinds of things. So I guess I was asking you a question.
So Sandra, I'd like to ask you a question. So basically, you're saying I don't trust urban renewal. That's what you're saying, correct?
I'm saying that it's not, we are not good stewards of our role as public servants to put the citizens in the place of having their properties declared decrepit or deteriorated, and giving total freedom to a board that doesn't have any kind of restraints.
Okay, so you
or
don't trust
accountability.
urban renewal. That's what I'm hearing.
I'm
So
not seeing any assurance.
So if you don't trust urban renewal, what, will you give us a path forward to fix these intersections? We know the number one reason with our survey, people want us to fix the congestion and fix the roads. You know what it's like out in Hayden Avenue. So the only option that we have forward, and I'm going to ask you the question, so do you support a tax increase to pay for those intersections? If you don't, how are you going to fix them?
We've been putting all of our attention on just moving forward with HURA. We haven't ever stopped and looked at other options.
Well, what are they?
We do have reports done by the roads, state has looked at not the state, but there has been eligibility reports done on Government Way. So we need to look
So
at
what are
other
they?
options. But we don't,
Could you identify those?
I don't have them with me right now.
So what do they say?
I don't have it with me right now.
What do they say?
I
I'm
am
pushing you on it
rejecting-
because you're saying, HURA, I don't trust them. Give me an option that we can move forward
But
on.
we don't have a guarantee from HURA.
So you don't trust them?
Until we have a 100% guarantee from them, I will not give
What do you want them to
consent.
guarantee?
Yeah, this is good discussion.
At exactly
For just a
what
second,
cost.
you have two professionals here who are presenting their analysis and a report, and the report is for your decision. Can we kind of stay focused on that for them, please, and their time?
I appreciate that very much, we stay focused, but I also have to look at a bigger picture. What I'm hearing is that we don't trust them, we don't want to move forward, we don't want to accept this.
Well, can I
And
interrupt?
so that's what concerns me, because if they don't trust the method, I want to know, what is the option that we can fix these roads by?
Can I make a suggestion?
Please,
Amy?
please.
These are the professionals who have put together this report, and I see we can question their report. It sounds like we're into deliberation here, okay? So if we don't have any questions that they can answer regarding to their report, then can we move on to deliberation? Because that's kind of where we're at.
So if I like to just point out one thing, and this is with your report, let's go to the map which shows the intersections that are the proposed areas that we're going to maybe approve that are eligible to include into our public,
Is this what you're referring to?
yes. Okay, and I just want to point out that, and maybe it's not as clear as in that map, but on the map in the report, it's really clear that we're talking about intersections in here. That's always been my understanding, is that we will focus in on. So I want to be focused in on, are you going to accept a report that says that these intersections are eligible for HURA funding? Are you going to accept that, or are you going to say no? And that's really what the question is here.
But this isn't focused on intersections. This is focused on deterioration. That's what we're talking
Show
about
me on the,
tonight.
on the map there.
Are we willing to declare our neighbors, our constituents' property as deteriorated or as devalued because they have too many property owners or because they have some weeds in their yard?
That's
Or
not the
they've
main
chosen-
issue here.
Yes, it is.
Well,
This isn't,
Please
Can I
address.
interject real quick on that one? I wish that they would not call it deteriorating, because that is not the case at all. The real case, and that's why I was trying to really focus on the street layout and the inadequacies of Government Way because of all the growth that we've encountered. So I really do want to say that we're not focusing on those specific properties because of deterioration. It's not really that. We have to, by state code, call it that, but it's not that. We're not really calling, I mean, every single urban renewal district we work in, we have to call it deteriorating or that's just the verbiage that the legislature gives us. So please don't try, I know it's hard not to, but it's not saying that at all. Everything was trying to be objective, including just saying land values versus improvement values, and it was on-site. We were trying to be very sensitive to that for sure. But I get where you're coming from too.
So Sandra, I have to ask you again, because you're the one that has brought this up. Go to page 15. If you look at, we only have to meet one of those 9 criteria to have the property eligible. Do you agree that all the intersections, 1A, 1B, 1E, 1K, and 1F, are defective or inadequate street layout, and there are a faulty layout. Do you agree with that?
No, not for all of them. No.
Okay, tell me how. Our expert, who we paid, says is. Tell me how you say they're not defective or inadequate.
And I was just basing it on the transportation plan, the government way plan, as well as the sewer plan. And that's what because I'm not an engineer, I just read the reports and was like, okay. And of course I went out there and everything, but those were that was the main reasoning, was level of service E along these intersections, crashes along the intersections. Those were the reasons.
Statistical data.
Yes.
So please, I'm going to ask the question again, Councilmember White. Are those intersections, those 5, are they defective or inadequate street layout and faulty layout? And if they're not, please explain how.
I am not willing to, I do not trust her. I do not trust that giving them the properties, that they will focus on fixing these intersections.
We're not talking about her. This is her report. Are you going to say this is untrue or not?
Is the report effective?
Yeah, is this we have a professional. Now, do you know better than she?
I would say maybe 1 or 2 of the intersections, but not all 5 of them. But I don't think that calling them deteriorated or declaring them in an urban renewal district is.
That's not my question. I said based on these 2 criteria.
That's the answer I'm giving, that
So you can't identify where this is untrue?
I am not willing to put the city into the arms anymore of urban renewal with.
There's the root of it right there.
Yeah. Because they have no accountability, they're unelected, and we're giving them
So
more property,
for the record, I would
more
like
taxes.
I would like to have it noted that she has not answered that question. She can't identify where this is defective in those 2 categories.
Okay,
And can you
Counsel-
identify that they will 100% fix all 5 of them?
They don't fix them. They fund them. The city asked them. They're not the project managers.
Okay, we keep our,
Can we ask for,
and I want
More
debate.
respect up
Let's-
here,
Please, I welcome that, but we need to keep the emotional side, and I know we all. I too
and you've
am-
made your point too, okay? I'm just,
Okay, I'll ask you the same question then, Tom. Can you identify in those 2 criteria?
well, I'm just gonna get right to it. I agree with defective or inadequate street layout and faulty layout because I'm mission focused on improving traffic up and down Government Way, and these appear to be the bottlenecks. My problem is calling some of these properties defective or deteriorating structures, and I think we've already addressed that. So I'm good with all that, okay? I just
we could
want
take
to
that out.
know.
I was gonna say, could we take it out?
We could completely take that out and
There we
we
go.
could.
Yeah, I'd like
Would
to,
that satisfy
please.
you?
That would be great.
We could take that out and it really, because it only needs to meet one of the 9 criteria.
And then my final question is what precedent does this set moving forward? What does this enable versus doesn't enable? Because we got to get the intersections moving along, and we've already acknowledged that HURA is a funding source for that. So I just want to make sure that private property rights are the number 1 focus.
Oh, yeah, I would agree with that and I would hope. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, feel free, my fellow council members, to correct me or to elaborate where I may be making false assumptions.
Well, and I would think, I sit on an urban renewal board too, so I understand some of it, I know. But I also, you always have a fiduciary responsibility, and I like to work with council, and so I would suggest having a workshop with HERA and having these discussions so that maybe you guys could really hammer out what the plan would look like and how you would want to see it moving forward. If you're on the same page, that would be the best
But
situation.
if we don't approve this, then what's the use of the meeting?
Well, that's true.
Yeah, we have, we have to
Or
take some
Lisa.
steps forward. There may be obstacles, but unless we take some steps forward and try to move a plan, we're never gonna get anywhere.
Agreed.
That's.
Agreed.
Okay, so Sandra, do you have any other questions?
Well, yeah, I would just say that even if we took off a few of those, it still moves these properties forward to being called deteriorated.
Yeah, but if we
It
take
still
those X's
puts them-
off, how's that?
Because by definition of the statute.
Right. It's still the same thing. They're called deteriorated. They are put in the urban renewal district. And then if the urban renewal district says, we need this right of way to do a project and a person does not want to sell, then it does open the door for eminent domain. And I
I'd like
think
to
that we're,
remind the council that the HURA doesn't have eminent domain rights.
no, but I said it opens the door. It does open the door to it.
But it'd go to your
Going to
body.
open the
Right.
door to eminent
But
domain
if-
to improve your streets
If-
anywhere in this town that need widened, whether you
We're
pay
willing
for
to
it or
stretch the rules or stretch, not the rules, stretch the idea of deteriorated to these properties, then we're willing to stretch the rules for eminent domain. So I'm against it right now. I do have a statement I would like to read.
Can
Can we move into that?
Can you give a summary of it?
Can we wait till deliberation?
Are you not in that?
Well, I thought are they part of deliberations?
No.
No.
That's just it.
I can wait till deliberation.
Okay, well, then, let's see if we have a motion, and so we can go into discussion
Do we
after,
need a motion for deliberation?
no, a motion
A motion and a
on,
second on the table to, and then continue.
and then we can go into discussion.
I'll make it. I will move to approve the resolution to accept the eligibility report for expansion of the Hayden Urban Renewal Revenue Allocation Area.
Okay, there's a process for resolutions, help me, Abby.
That's it, you just a motion.
Okay, so I don't have to do, okay,
Can we have a caveat to Councilman Dupree's motion or an addendum? I'd like the X's struck out of deteriorated or deteriorating structures.
That's fine.
Absolutely. And I'll take out the wording throughout the document like that too.
Yeah, and then the other part is, I noted, and I'm glad to follow up afterwards, is some of these photographs in here are misleading.
Yeah, I could
in
take
my
those out
opinion.
too. Yeah.
So, because you don't have a second to the motion, Ed, do you wish to amend your
But
original motion?
I will amend the motion for Councilmember Schaefer's amendments, addition, whatever you want to call them.
well, I'll need a second, please.
I will second it.
Okay, great. Roll call, please.
Are we going to discuss?
Have deliberation.
Oh, yeah, we need to talk about it.
Discussion, yes.
I just kind of forgot. Okay, please, Ed.
I'd like to make, for the record, and the people all over in, to more clearly say what I said a second ago, a few minutes ago. HURA is not a project manager on any projects, okay? They do not run the project, they do not decide what gets done, they do not hire the workers to help, anything like that. The city, to kind of short form it, ask her for funding. Will you help us out here? How much can you help us out here? We need X, can you give us all of it? Can you give us some of it? Can you? They then look at it and go, yay, nay, we can give you this or that, and it works from there. But HURA does not decide, they can't guarantee anything about the work being done. They're gonna give us, hopefully, funding for it to help us out. So that's a statement that way. In regards to this issue, I've said this numerous times, and Council President Roeder brought it up a few minutes ago, and we keep talking. We have the lowest by far levy rate around, okay? We're so far behind all the other cities and have been for years and years when it comes to finding funding resources for the, $54 million in infrastructure projects we have on our 5-year capital improvement plan. Where's that money gonna come from? Okay? I think if HERA has the ability to help us out, then we take advantage of that. Because otherwise, where's it gonna come from? I haven't seen any state, I go to the ITD things all the time and talk to ITD people, okay? And maybe I'm missing something because I know I don't know everything. Have they talked about government way improvements as far as the city is concerned?
IT.
Yeah.
They have.
I believe it's not a state system, so.
Yes, that's my understanding.
Let's see, so how can the state do that if it's not a state system?
Well, admittedly, there is opportunity within the funding through LTAC to use
Right.
local money handed over to the local roads, but they're very, very competitive, and we're part of an urban area. It's more difficult, more competitive, because
So-
we're competing with that money across the state.
So again, I will foresee, predict, the bottom line is, if it's gonna come from the people to some degree anyway, okay? We're gonna get as much as we can, hopefully from HERA, but with $54 million in projects, either we're gonna go to the taxpayer and a combination of whatever we can hopefully get grants, or it's not gonna get done. And we're gonna have government way continue to be pretty much like it is as more and more people either move into Hayden and/or, which so much of it is, travel through Hayden on the existing roads here, and they're gonna deteriorate more and more and more. And it gets more and more expensive, the more deteriorated things get, okay? So I believe that we have to move forward with this.
Yeah, please, response to that, I just want to acknowledge that, since Councilman Dupree's brought it up, that we look to her to help fund these things. At this point, it's basically a handshake agreement. There is nothing in writing. They're not obligated. But we, hopefully, we believe that they have the same interests that we do, which is to use the revenue from this for the road improvements.
When we make an agreement with her, isn't there an agreement with them when we say we have this project, will you help fund this? Is it documented more than a handshake?
Once we do bring a project to them, yes.
Right.
And they're aware of the interest here for.
They're aware.
Yeah, they're aware of it, but yeah, we wouldn't necessarily bring forward nor could we bring forward a project that wasn't eligible for funding until we can get it eligible, which is the process we're moving towards.
But there's a documentary paper contractual funding agreement, right? It's not just, okay, hey, you're gonna give us X, okay?
I have a question. Who funded your study?
The city did.
The city.
The city, okay. But I do know that it went through the HERA board and we accepted your report. So there's an indication that they're interested,
It seemed like.
very interested.
Yeah, yeah.
And they know that our citizen survey said we want roads fixed. And as a member of the HERA board, I can tell you that they can promise us the funding at some point so we can move forward.
But again, we cannot bring them a project
Until,
the project is eligible for their consideration. So I just want to make sure it is the necessary process in order to even elaborate with them about projects. And then we will be very specific through the plan amendment process about what those projects would be and what the particular funding amount could be. So, and they will be a collaborative partner in that conversation. So they're not going to be surprised by any of this, and nor have they been along the way. So I believe the process being what it will be and the transparency that will occur around that should open the dialogue very easily for us to enter into agreements if this project were to be completed to fund likely, at least, I would think, the design elements of these intersections. We'll just continue to move down that path of determining to the degree at which they would participate in construction based on how the plan amendment goes forward. And again, I'm not an expert in urban renewal. I was an administrator at one point of one, but only for a short time. So I'm leaning on our advice of our attorney to make sure that I'm guiding you correctly, so.
so I'd like to make a point about the intersection of Ramsey and Honeysuckle. There's been a design done and land acquired, not all of it, to complete that. And we have had either 1 or 2 grant applications through the state to find money for it. We haven't gotten any money. It's not in the urban renewal district. So at least we have an option within the urban renewal district to fund an intersection because we're competing for those state funds and that is an easy gain is the way I'll put it. Okay, so any other discussion?
Yes. So another aspect of urban renewal is that they buy property, such as they bought the Owl, and they have the other properties.
How does that
around.
relate to her report, please?
Right. Well, when we give them control of all of these other properties, then they can also buy other properties.
So how does that relate to her report, please?
Because this is opening the door to allowing urban renewal more breadth of what they can purchase. So I think that we need to protect private property rights and stand up for the taxpayers and vote no on this. This resolution to accept the eligibility report for her expansion is long. So I'll just focus on 2 paragraphs that to me are deja vu all over again. As I see this is closely connected to the comprehensive plan as well. The second paragraph on page 2 comes from the inception of the HURA district in 2005. At the time of adoption, the district plan's primary goals were for public improvements and facilities to provide an improved environment for a new commercial and mixed-use development. So here they're mentioning mixed use already in urban renewal's wording in 2005. And then it goes on to say, eliminate unsafe conditions, assist potential owner participation and other developers to create appropriate development sites through consolidation of existing similar parcels, and where necessary, through acquisition, demolition, and deposition activities, and otherwise prevent the extension of deterioration and reverse the deteriorating action of the area. So that's what was said in this report about urban renewal's conception. And then then the next paragraph on page 5 and 6 brings us fast forward to today and refers to the future land use map. All properties contained within the expansion area are currently zoned commercial. The future land use plan's intention is to make it more uniform, designating all parcels along the east side of Government Way as mixed use, and keeping the parcels on the west side of Government Way commercial. As this plan gradually takes effect, existing uses may need additional infrastructure improvements to support new uses and future growth. So just for a little ride down memory lane about the comprehensive plan.
Can we
No.
keep towards her,
I am-
specifically towards her report?
I'm making my statement.
Okay,
Okay, and we are in deliberations now.
right, but I want you to stay focused on her report.
I am focused. So this is the mixed use map. And in the comprehensive plan from 2020, and the whole east side of Government Way is designated as mixed use. Now, after that mixed use was put into law, this is the list of 1,700 properties that were, after the comprehensive plan was adopted, the community development team initiated a city-funded rezone of 1,700 properties. Had that citywide rezone not been stopped, that whole east side of Government Way, as well as many other properties, would be zoned mixed use right now. Mixed use is apartments.
How does that apply to her report,
Yeah, I'm
please?
going on. As one planning and zoning commissioner stated, it's like a get-out-of-jail-free card for developers. So then we were also given these letters, 1,700 property owners.
I
was
fail
one
to
of them.
see where you're
I
making your
am-
point
I
here,
have
so I'm
the
going to
floor.
stop you.
I have the floor.
No, I'm going to
I
stop
have the
you.
floor, and I have,
I'm going to stop you.
Councilman Roder, she does represent her constituents. You need to.
But I'm asking her
I
to
have
make
the
the
floor.
point to
I
the,
think she's,
we're out of
I
that.
Let her speak.
think she's tying it together, so let her.
So this letter was sent to 1,700 residents of Hayden in April 2021, telling us that we were going to be rezoned.
I'd like to take a
I myself was
recess.
included.
Second.
Upon, what? I have the floor.
we have a
Yes,
motion.
in the middle of the
My
floor.
motion is take a recess, and we have a second.
How long? How long of a recess?
5 minutes.
I still have the floor when we come back.
Yes.
Yes.
Correct? Thank you.
She's almost done. Just let her speak.
Just have a little bit more.
She will.
I just,
Please. We're back out of our recess. It is now 6:26 PM. And Councilmember White, you please continue with your,
Thank
with
you.
your points.
Okay, I'm going to continue with my little trip down memory lane. So after the 1,700 homes were given this notice of zone change, And this zone change, 1,700 homes, was going to be city-funded. So if there were any kind of mixed-use properties in there at all, those were going to be a free zone change. So upon further research, I came across a memo, an inner-city memo from employees here. And it said, "What are the team's thoughts? We need to get properties zoned mixed residential and mixed use to get some of these projects going. People have invested millions in our community with the thought of doing mixed use and mixed residential developments." And incidentally, the person who wrote this memo is now the director of HURA. So therefore, I see this resolution to accept eligibility report for HURA expansion as subjective and a way to further mixed-use growth, possible property acquisition, demolition, and deposition with no accountability to the elected city council or its citizens. It's basically a blank check and a credit card with no guarantee of what their plans actually are. Some seem to trust HURA 100% and hopefully believe that they will do what we're hoping they will do. But I'm not content to govern a city based on blind faith. We're here to protect the taxpayers of Hayden, and I don't think it's wrong to ask for contracts, signed agreements, and openness where millions of dollars and private property rights are concerned before we put these properties into a deteriorated state. As public servants, we must consider very carefully before we declare private property as deteriorated. Every step forward costs us more money and digs the hole deeper. And we give more property to her, we can't stop them. And especially with mixed use up and down the east side of Government Way. We have no guarantees, and therefore I am voting no, again, on furthering urban renewal's growth.
Does that complete your statement?
I am complete, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Ed?
I guess a little, and again, correct me if I'm incorrect on what I'm about to say here. A couple things have happened. This map, this future land use map, with all this purple, has recently been sent to the consultant related to the comprehensive plan, and about 60% of this purple has been removed. All of the purple on the east side of Government Way has been removed, and the consultants are evaluating this, but this was what the Joint Council Planning and Zoning recommended for the consultant to evaluate whether it is feasible.
In looking at your comp plan amendment.
In looking at our comp plan amendment. Also, this is future land use map. It's not, this purple is not purple right now, which means they have to come and ask for a zone change, which means the council, I believe it has to probably go to P&Z first. They have to approve it, meet the standards of approval. Then it has to come to council. And we have to approve it. It has to meet the standards of approval and the context of the neighborhood. And if we look at it and say, well, you know, it doesn't fit, then we have the ability to say, no, it is not just going to happen. Okay, it has to follow the process, and the people sitting at this dais would have to approve it. Okay, so just because it's on the future land use map doesn't mean it's in stone and is going to happen. Okay, so you know, anybody who's watched me knows me. Where I don't want mixed use. I'm the one who put the mixed use reductions in a long time ago before I was even elected, to reduce it from 20 down to 12, to get rid of the residential multifamily, which allowed up to 14, and replace it with mixed residential, which has a maximum of 8. And look at the community development plan for the last 3 years and tell me how many mixed use applications have been made, how many mixed use developments have been approved. Anybody know that answer? 3 years, last 3 years? Zilch. Okay? And I don't anticipate, based on what we have, all of a sudden an explosion of mixed use. So I'm going to use, there's a word I think that's flying around the entire country, let alone North Idaho. It's fear-mongering, okay? It ain't going to happen. Just because it's on here doesn't mean it's going to happen, okay? Again, we're talking about, are we going to approve this, okay, the report, and then move on to the next step, and the next step type of thing. And we can stop this at any time where we go, hey, you know, this isn't going to work out. Okay, and again, we keep the either direct or indirect verbiage that I keep hearing is that HURA has so much control of what actually happens. They don't. The city will decide what happens. Look at the capital improvement plan. Yes, look at the capital improvement plan. It has all of the projects, sewer, road, parks, okay, and the plan or proposed projected funding sources. Okay, that's all we're asking to do. HURA can't fund if they aren't in the district. And I'll go back to my bottom line. If HURA can't help us with funding, I'll probably be dead before Government Way gets improved, if at all. Or you'll be paying a lot of taxes to get it done.
Thomas, do you have anything to add, or what are your thoughts?
All right,
95 state.
no, I don't have any further comments.
Sandra, go ahead.
Yes, I'd like to address what Councilmember DePriest just said. I read directly from this resolution, it says, the future land use plan's intention is to make it more uniform, designating all parcels along the east side of Government Way as mixed use, and keeping the parcels on the west side of Government Way as commercial. So it's in this document that you want to approve today.
Have intentions ever changed? Intentions are great. Okay, what ends up coming to fruition is often very, very different than what intentions are. Okay?
But that's what this is being built on. It's mentioned mixed use twice.
Are you going to approve a mixed use zone change for some property on east of Government Way where they come and say, we want to build apartments here? Are you going to approve it?
Stay focused. This is what we're talking about today.
That's what I just said. This council has to approve zone changes.
Okay, council, I think you have a motion and a second on the table, and everybody's had a chance to deliberate.
Okay, so bottom line of this is we're looking to take a first step to find funding for those intersections that are badly need to be fixed. And so I hope you will consider this plan, this report, because it's only a first step in the process. It may not, we may get a roadblock, I don't know, pun intended, but if we don't take this first step, you know, I really challenge my fellow council members to figure out a way of, how are you going to answer to the taxpayer that you failed to move forward on one of the potential ways to fund this and come up with another potential way to fund these intersections? So I'll leave it at that, and if we could have roll call, please.
Councilmember White?
No.
Council President Roeder?
Yes.
Councilmember Schaefer?
Yes.
Councilmember DePriest?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you. That was good. All right. Let's go to 5C, please. 5C is a request to advertise the H6 Force Main in the Hayden Area Regional Sewer Board Force Main Replacement Project for bidding. And who is going to handle that?
I will address that.
Thank you.
Our President Roeder, Council President. City has taken quite a bit of time and effort to bring these projects to fruition. We were hoping to be at this point back in May. We had some funding setbacks. We believe that we are in a position now that we'll be able to fund these projects if we take them out to bid. We're sitting in a great bidding environment right now. There's a lot of desire to do public projects right now by the contracting community. And so we would like to take advantage of that opportunity and move this project forward at this point to take it out to bid. At that point, if the bids are favorable, we would bring it back to council for award.
Thank you, Alan. Does anybody have any questions focused towards Alan on this, or Lisa? If not, I would entertain a motion, please.
Councilman Roeder, I will make a motion that we approve request to advertise the H6 force main and Hayden area regional sewer board force main replacement.
I think
That's
that's
C.
the wrong.
No, that's C.
That's C.
Oh, sorry, I'm reading the staff.
You interrupted my tempo. How am I going
I was reading the staff action or motion and the.
He was doing great.
Sorry.
He was in a rhythm.
to complete replacement project for bidding?
Second.
I apologize.
Any discussion? I see none. Roll call, please.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Council President Roeder?
Yes.
Councilmember DePreez?
Yep.
Councilmember Schaefer?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, we have a similar request to advertise the H6 lift station project for bidding. Alan, do you need to elaborate, or could we just use your verbiage from the last one?
I would say that the verbiage I used in the last one falls right in line on this project as well. They're tied together. In a sense, they're different. We're doing two different bids because the work element is quite different. And so we think we'll get more favorable bids by getting the right contractor on the right project.
Okay, thank you. Questions of Alan on this one?
Don't ask me, I'll confuse it.
We'll just leave you out, Lisa. Okay, I would entertain a motion for 5D, please.
I would move to approve the request to advertise the H6 lift station project for bidding.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Councilmember White?
Yes.
Council President Roeder?
Yes.
Councilmember Schaefer?
Yes.
Councilmember DePreez?
Yes.
Wow. Okay, we're moving on to reports. And I would love to hear from Lisa, our city administrator.
Okay, I am just gonna hand out, it's 2 pages, you can take one, pass it down. It's the community development report from the last month. Apologize, I didn't get that out in time or ahead of the meeting. Just was gonna go through a few things regarding the city administration, so the work that we've been doing. Today, I attended the Public Transportation Summit, which is a 3-day conference talking with other public transportation authorities across the state. It was interesting and intriguing, and as a reminder to council, the city is part of the regional City Link urban public transportation system. So it was interesting to learn from our own folks here locally what they're doing and some of the projects that are coming forward. And then Olivia Metz, who was there, is working with the county regarding a doodle poll. So that was sent out to you guys today about doing some ride-alongs. There's an interest in wanting to get each of you an opportunity to tour the route that's within our area. So that would be Route C.
Only if I get to drive the bus.
I'll let you ride in the front seat. I'm just kidding. So look for that email, and if you guys could respond of your interest in wanting to do that, that'd be great. The county has not gotten back with us about the acceptance of the law enforcement contract, but we did hear back from their attorney that they didn't suggest any changes. So we expect and hope that that will go before the county commissioners here shortly for an effective date of October 1. So we're looking forward to that. As mentioned, we're aggressively working on trying to fill our committees, in particular the impact fee committee, because tied to that is the city is also behind the scenes with the staff and working on bringing forward a revised fee schedule. We talked about this through the budget process, needing to revise our fees. In particular, impact fees are one of those. So I've been working with the staff diligently about that process and look forward to hopefully soon inquiring about an interest to do a workshop around that. Regarding Public Works, there is currently the same projects that were under construction previously, and I'll just summarize them for the record, but we have the Phase 2 sewer construction, Dakota to Wyoming. Do we have an ETA on when it will be done?
That is a 2-season project.
2 seasons, so, but are they wrapping up over winter?
We are working on where that boundary is going to lie as we speak.
Okay. One thing that's pretty exciting worth sharing with the council is that the Ramsey Road Extension Project, this is the project that we entered into the state and local agreement with LTAC on, is set to bid on October 22nd. And that's a state run project. And the city recently had the LTAC board tour that project, 2 weeks ago-ish. And we had a good group of folks from across the state come up and get to see our area, and they were quite intrigued about that project. And then, as mentioned and as recently decided upon, we're preparing to bid the remainder 2 phases of the H6 agreement. So we're excited to bring that project forward. And regarding the HARBS cooperative agreement, the body did approve that agreement at their last meeting. So there was a minor change to the amount that they were going to essentially pay us a check for in advance, and that was to include the difference in the bid project, or excuse me, their engineer's estimate relative to what we had for numbers. It was about an $89,000 difference in favor of the project cost increasing, so they did approve that. And at this point, they have, I should also note that they did approve their budget, so that's another progress made there. I was happy to see that happen. And the last thing would be that you'll see an email going out regarding the next entity meeting between the 3 on December 2nd tentatively. And that's right now tentatively set for December 2nd from 9 to noon at the Kootenai County Admin Building. So we are looking forward to hearing whether that date will work for you. And with that, I would stand for questions.
Any questions for Lisa?
Yes, I have one. I'm not sure if this is a question to you or not, but I was wondering, what's the status of the benches from the Art Commission?
To my knowledge, the benches were set to be delivered sometime around the same time frame as Hayden Days, and our staff was not prepared to bring them on, so we asked that they postpone delivery, and then that postponement is still being worked on getting those delivered. There has been some changes in a couple of the models that they're doing now. We're trying to work with that company to get a date for delivery, and some product changes that are happening also occurred. So we're hopeful it'll be arriving soon, and we are working with some local professional services in the area to help us with our needed easements for those. So our public art is in public easements. And so concurrently, we're also doing a lot of the other process in order to get those benches ready to be set. So.
Okay, and what's the name of the company for the benches?
I think it's called, is it Trade Solar? I can't remember, something Winds.
It's called Noble Winds.
Noble Winds, thank you.
Canvas had a corporate change in their name to Noble Winds.
So Lisa, do you have a calendar review for us?
I usually hand that off to Abby to help me with.
Okay, I know, but it's on here to,
I know,
if there's anything you want to highlight.
At this point, the couple highlights that I made regarding meetings that have happened, I've noted in my report. So
Okay.
if there's anything else you guys just ask questions on, happy to help.
Councilman, I can say that the October 7th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting has been canceled.
October
7th.
Okay. Thank you, Donna.
Thank you.
Do we have a law enforcement report? Thank you.
Good evening. Last week, we shared with you,
Could you identify your name? It's important we get to know our
Okay.
deputies and.
my name is Zach Zipper. I'm a patrol lieutenant for the sheriff's office. Last week, we kind of went over the stats for you with Captain Smart, so I can answer some questions. We're still transitioning into our new building, which is quite a task, and so we're not quite there yet, but I think detectives have made themselves up there, and we're starting to work on patrol here in the next couple of weeks. And then we did have a noteworthy incident last week that was pretty, a public event there on Highway 95 in Hayden, in front of the Maverick gas station. So you probably saw that
What happened?
highway, so.
I'm ignorant. What happened?
Oh, well, we had a gal with a mental health crisis, and she ended up getting tased there right parallel to Highway 95, so.
Gosh.
That was a public one. So other than that, it's been okay. Do you have any questions for me?
You guys are doing a great job. Thank
Sure
you
tried.
so much for keeping our citizens safe and
Perfect.
doing the job you do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, you're going into a new building, where's it at?
It's on Dakota. It's where the old Kootenai Electric building used to be. So a little bit closer to you.
All right, thank you so much.
You bet.
Okay, council roundtable discussion. I'm not the mayor, obviously. I'm just sitting in for our mayor. He's probably getting sunburned, I hope. But I do want to start off with saying I want to apologize to Councilmember White. In our deliberations, I got emotional, and I know part of my job is to try to focus discussion. And I don't do this very often, so I hope you take my apologies, and that we did get to hear your complete statement. And I know that we're all at some point going to disagree, and we want to keep it civil, and I was out of line, so I am sorry.
I was about to ask the deputy to arrest you.
I'm sorry.
If you can catch
I
me.
just like to see people be kind. That's all. I should have said be kind.
Yeah, and you're right. Thank you, so. So are there any roundtable discussion items that you'd like to bring up? Thomas, please.
I don't know how, I know you guys all know that I serve on the Soil and Water Conservation District Board. And I hope, Matt and Ed, that I haven't rained on your parade doing this, but after taking a tour of the sewer plant and talking with Ken, I had him do a presentation before the Soil and Water Conservation District, because right now all those biosolids are either going to the landfill or they're being shipped over to Ritzville, Washington. And I thought, there's an opportunity to keep it local. So he did the presentation, and we have several farmers or ranchers on the board, and they got very excited about the data in terms of the bionutrient levels in the biosolids. And the outcome of this is it looks like a lot of that stuff is now going to be used by these guys who grow hay down in South Kootenai County. And I mean, one of the guys said, this is awesome because I usually have to go out and spend thousands of dollars to amend all these components to my soil. These biosolids have everything already in it. So that is ongoing. And then I asked for a pathogen report from Ken on the biosolids, and it blows away all of the standards defined by the EPA and the Department of Environmental Quality. So there could possibly be more opportunities, and we're trying to connect that information with the right people.
Yeah, thank you. That's a cost to our sewer plant to, what do you do with these biosolids? And we had been shipping to Ritzville, like we said, to a farmer, and there's a lot of cost to that. So if we can shorten the distance, or someone will come and pick it up or something like that, these are good things. So thank you, Thomas.
Yeah.
Ed, please.
Yeah, a couple things here. We had a workshop, is that what it was, with planning and zoning and the consultant to the comprehensive plan. I mentioned it a little bit earlier. And we talked about the amendments to the goals and policies, and we also got into the future land use map. And I think it'd be good, and I've had some people ask, if the requested future land use map changes, that map, if it could be put on the website or something so that people could see the
We can't put the proposed changes out.
cannot?
No, because it's not approved.
So, okay, so I can tell them to watch the video.
Yeah, because I think you guys did a good job of holding up those big maps and sort of
Yeah.
identifying, and they can hear your
To
discussion.
see the proposed changes and
Yeah,
stuff
what
like
you're
that.
talking about.
Okay, okay. And secondarily, here's that community development report that I also mentioned a few minutes ago. And I'll put it here, you can get a copy of it.
It's on the website.
Huh?
That building trends portion is on the website every month that goes
Yeah.
out. That page goes out every.
For right here, you people, it is, and it is on the website. Building trends, August 2024. And you go down to residential multifamily, which is mixed use. 2020, 112. 2021, 72. Then several changes occurred. 2022, 0. 2023, 0. 2024 year-to-date, 0. I think management of that type of development is exemplary or whatever, as in this report here. So if you're curious about how much is being done, here's the verifiable facts. Okay, done.
Thank you, Ed. Sandra, do you have anything?
Yes, I was just wondering about the corner of 95 and Aqua, where our City of Hayden sign is. Welcome to the City of Hayden. That corner is owned by Parkwood Properties. And last year, or was it 2 years ago, we had this discussion that their Parkwood Properties is putting political signs up on that corner. We had asked them not to, but the political signs are back up.
I'm taking note. We'll look into it.
Yes, okay, thank you. Yeah, I think that the City of Hayden's image is there and we should remain neutral on political stances.
Is that in the public right of way or private property?
It's private property.
We may not have much,
They took it down last time we asked them to.
yeah, and we certainly can make the ask. I just, if it's in the public right of way, then certainly.
Right,
there's
but
more.
our City of Hayden map, sign is there, welcome to City of Hayden, and then vote this way. And it's just a bad look for the city. And we had asked them before they take that down.
We certainly can attempt a genuine ask.
Thank you.
So I'd ask Sandra, she's on the airport board now. She's been appointed to it. And do you have anything to report that may concern the city?
I think they're doing a great job. I sat in on my first meeting, and they're widening a parallel landing strip that they have a grant for, and they're working on the control tower. That should be finalized soon. And they've got a good finger on the pulse of what's going on. Okay, I was
All right,
pleased.
thank you.
Thank you.
So I have just a last item here that I want to bring up. I understand that this is a roundtable discussion and no decision can or will be made. I want to circle back to the accountability of hours spent in Hayden by the 10 dedicated Hayden deputies. I would like to discuss that issue. It is simply an accountability issue and not an issue of distrust of our 10 Hayden dedicated deputies. Based on the deployment of the 10 deputies, the plan, we have adequate coverage.
Point of order. Should we make this a discussion item on our next agenda?
If you'll let me finish, please. Thank you. And we have minimum which the 10 deputies is minimum coverage, but it is 24/7. Recently, I had constituents state they are not seeing Hayden deputies or very few deputies in Hayden. Some did say they witnessed a Hayden deputy patrol car numerous times parked at the Dalton Elementary School. Members of the council have a fiduciary responsibility to Hayden taxpayers to ensure taxes collected are used reasonably and accounted for. We are all elected for that responsibility. We will and should be held accountable by Hayden voters. I have two questions that I'd like to ask each council member tonight. And again, this isn't an action item, I'm not asking for a vote. I just want to know where people are coming from. We'll finish up on what I would like to ask of our city administrator. The first question is, do you know how many hours per day, week, or month the 10 dedicated Hayden deputies spend in the city of Hayden? So I'm asking you that question. Second question is a follow-up. Do you care to know how many hours the 10 dedicated deputies spend in Hayden? So therefore, I'm going to ask, once we get the answer to those questions, I would like to ask Lisa, our city administrator, if she could design a Hayden deputy timesheet that would be filled out by each Hayden deputy for time spent in Hayden. This is not a method of tracking the physical location of the deputies, but again, for accountability purposes only. The document would then become a public record so that Hayden citizens can view for themselves the number of hours the 10 deputies spend in Hayden. This is purely accountability for the citizens of Hayden if they ask questions about accountability. Again, I'm not asking for a vote since this is not an action item, but rather a roundtable discussion. Therefore, I'm asking the questions. I'm asking for a Hayden's deputy timesheet to be prepared by Lisa for the next city council meeting to be considered as an action item. So well, I'm going to ask you your questions if you could answer them, please.
I'd like to make a statement.
Before you do, could you answer the questions?
I'd like to make a statement.
Okay, who would like to answer the questions?
Is this a point of order?
You can have the discussion. He's asking for an action item at the next meeting related to the timesheet, but I think your discussion will drive whether or not that action item is going to end up on the agenda.
So you think this is an appropriate way to proceed?
It is a council discussion. If you want to just ask for an action item to be on the agenda at the next meeting, you can, and you can refuse to answer the questions.
So I'll repeat the questions if you haven't heard them. So the first question is, do you know how many hours per day, week, or month the 10 dedicated Hayden deputies spend in the city of Hayden? Do you know that? Do you know that number or numbers? And the second question is, do you care to know how many hours the 10 dedicated Hayden deputies spend in Hayden? Oh, and this is being recorded and minutes are being taken, so your answers will be, the public can see them.
It's not agendized for discussion, but you can answer the question. If you wish. But I would also like to clarify that timesheets are personnel records that are exempt from disclosure, so it's not going to accomplish, I don't think, the goal you were looking for.
I personally feel like this is sort of putting me on the spot and something that I'd like to ponder in a itemized point of discussion on a future council meeting. I understand where you're coming from, Councilman Roeder, but you know, I could pontificate on and on about this, and I just think it's appropriate as an organized agenda item.
Yeah, I'm just asking the question, and you can
Yeah, so I'm going to refuse to answer at this point because of the way I feel on this.
Ed, please.
Yeah, I mean, I also see where you're going with it. The logistics of doing it, I don't know. You know, again, I think this would have to be a discussion where you probably do bring the sheriff or a representative in, you know, how, you know, as I can, a sign-in sheet would be Deputy A, sign in, I don't know, 8 a.m., sign out 5 p.m., whatever the shift, 8-3, whatever it is. And I get it. I'd like to know and like to feel that, hey, you know, we are getting X hours, 10 times X or whatever it is, and we are getting our contractual numbers from them. Don't know the number. Answer number one.
Thank you.
Would like to know it. It'd be interesting to see and make sure that we are actually getting it. I think that just the nature of law enforcement, calls here, there, having to cover here, there. Someone comes in to help with this. One of Hayden may go out to help with that. I just think it is so, convoluted to be the right word. It's just almost impossible. We might get a generalization number, But I'm not against looking at it and discussing it, but I don't know that it would really achieve a very accurate representation of what's happening.
And the questions, the two questions, are you going to answer them?
I'm not going to answer that one. I don't feel like I can give statistics on the spot. I would like to study up on it. But I'm getting the feeling that you don't trust our deputies. And the
Well,
hours
I
they
made it
provide.
clear this is an accountability issue. And what I'm looking for in timesheets is that they would be then summarized at the end of the month. And we wouldn't see the timesheets. The sheriff's already given us at one time reports of hours. And so we would just get a monthly report then of how many of those deputies, based on the sign-in, because they have a glitch in their software, they can't do this for us, but they surely could write down when they're in the city and they're out. And again, we have a fiduciary responsibility, our citizens, to ensure that when we contract with somebody, we are getting what we pay for. And this isn't an issue of trusting our deputies. I trust them. I just want to know, from an accountability situation, how many hours are they spending in our city? And that's where I'm coming from.
Can you rephrase that to working for the city? I only say that because the jail's not in the city limits and the courthouse is not in the city limits. They could spend a half an hour testifying on a Hayden case down at the courthouse, but they're not physically in the city.
So then it would be when they're physically in the city.
So that's what's important to you more than working for the city.
What about when they transport to the jail?
Well, I mean, they could be down in Harrison if they get called down to there. I don't care about that. I want to know how many hours they're actually in our
I'm
city.
just trying to pin down the metrics you're looking for.
Well, we could talk about that. I mean, the timesheet and how that would all work, but I hope Mike, the concept is to get some report of the actual hours that they're in our city.
Well, do you guys want, I guess the question is, does council wish to have this as a discussion and potential action item on the next agenda?
I don't feel a need for it.
What would it be to ask, I mean, what would the action item be, to ask for timesheets?
Well, we could develop that.
Right, that's what,
Yeah, I just, the basic concept.
what if, I'm just helping you, and this is not agendized, but what if that, instead of it being an action item, that discussion sends a question to your Public Safety Commission, because that's kind of what they're for, is to make these types of recommendations to you.
Oh, so we could just propose that they come up with something. Perfect.
Your public, that's what they're for, let
I
them
agree.
work on this.
Perfect.
I agree.
May I
Yeah,
make one more statement?
yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I would just like to give a shout out to our deputies. Following our last meeting, where one of our citizens mentioned Honeysuckle Road in Ramsey, that there was speeding going along there. I was just driving by there the other day and I noticed what do you call it? A
Speed trailer?
speed trailer, yeah. And so I just was really glad to see such quick action being taken on a resident's complaint. Thank you so much.
So lastly, the Hayden Sewer District was given notice of dissolution. So they're aware that they have,
Hayden Lake.
Hayden Lake, excuse me, what did I say?
Hayden.
Hayden, okay, Hayden Lake. Yeah, Hayden Lake Sewer District received notice of dissolution from us, and I think by now by the county. And so that means that we are in the process of moving forward, and we have 180 days from the time of that notice till, I don't know, does it go before a judge, or we could work?
180 days to negotiate a dissolution of the Hayden Area Regional Sewer Board.
Or it would then go
Or
to
it would
district
then-
court.
Or it would go to court. So, and hopefully we can work something out before that.
And hopefully along the way, as this progresses, since it's so new, we'll have an opportunity as an agendized item to give an update.
And that December 2nd is that next meeting date. So again, hoping you guys will check your calendars.
So let me just amend what I'm thinking about with this public, with the deputy timesheet. I would like to bring forward an action item that says that we request the Public Safety Commission to look into this possibility of doing timesheets and monthly reports from the Sheriff's Department and leave it up to them to come up with something.
That would be on the next
I
agenda.
don't agree with that.
Well, I'm asking it to be an agenda item next next meeting.
Yeah, and I don't agree with that. Thank you.
We have two of you saying yes.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll go with that, yeah.
Good, thank you. So with that, I would take a motion to adjourn. Okay, we're done.